Hey guys, it's Mr. Eisens here, and I just wanted to try to inform you guys a little bit about what's going on with the coronavirus. So basically, the coronavirus, or as the CDC is calling it, the COVID-19 or coronavirus 2019 virus. Basically, like we've learned in class, it's a virus, and so that means it is very, very small. Okay, that means that it is non-living, or at least is lacking a lot of characteristics of living things like you and I. But the way that it reproduces, and how some people would argue that it is living, is that it takes over a cell and uses that cell to produce more viruses. So I just wanted to show this image to kind of highlight how small viruses are. If you take a look at the polio virus or the flu virus, they are much, 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 much smaller than that of animal cells and plant cells. And so they'll just attach themselves right on the cell membrane and inject DNA and RNA into animal cells, and then you basically make that cell not do its job. And so that's where our symptoms start to arise, and we can have problems. So just keep in mind, they're really, really small. And they attach to our cells and make sure our cells aren't doing what they're supposed to. And that's why it's causing a lot of issues. So what's the main issue with this coronavirus? Okay, what's different about this? Why is this actually a problem as opposed to other viruses? Because we encounter other viruses all the time. Specifically, I want to point out the flu. Okay, so the coronavirus is actually very, very similar to the flu in its symptoms and how it's an airborne disease. So being symptoms of the flu. Let's just look at those symptoms right now. Okay, fever, cough, shortness of breath. Okay, they're pretty common symptoms. And so when you are a respiratory disease or a disease that limits the ability of the lungs, you can cause issues, especially for those that are elderly or immunodeficient. So if you already have a pre-existing condition, that can be difficult for you. Specifically like diabetes, any lung disease, this coronavirus and the flu are going to be more difficult for your immune system to handle. One thing that I do really want to highlight is that it is an airborne disease. Okay, so being an airborne disease makes it very, very easily spread. And so in combination with this virus being new, and I say new to humans because this virus was affecting different animals and made the jump to affecting humans recently. And that's why we saw the outbreak in Wuhan, China. And so what happens is we don't have an immunity built up as humans. And because it travels through airborne, so anytime you cough or breathe, you're shooting little viruses out into the world, floating around in the air, and can possibly infect another person. And so because there's no immunity, because there's no antibodies built up to defend against this virus, it spreads like crazy. And it spreads very, very quickly, especially when you're in close proximity. Also, with no immunity and being it that the virus is very new, we don't have a vaccine that's ready for humans yet. You can just inject the disease into people. That's kind of what a vaccine is, but we don't have one that has the right dosage or that is basically just safe for humans. We don't have one that is FDA approved, and so that means we can't just send it out to the public. So other things that cause the coronavirus to be kind of unique, or at least cause a perfect storm to infect a lot of people, is that it does not appear, or symptoms do not appear, for several days. So that can be up to about 2 weeks is the longest incubation period, but you could start seeing symptoms around 2 to 3 days. Regardless, there are going to be days where you are infected with the coronavirus and can spread it even though you don't know you're sick. And so that's kind of the problem, is people are spreading the disease very, very quickly because it's new, because it's airborne, because they think they're healthy and they aren't showing symptoms. And so they wind up spreading the disease very, very quickly. Also, a highlight or something to think about, this disease does not seem to affect children like it does in adults. Okay, that means that the symptoms are much more mild for children. So that's pretty awesome, and lucky that seems to be the case. But Viruses can change over time. We have a different, the flu is always changing its DNA every single year, and we're creating new vaccines for it. So you never know what will happen in the future. But right now, information from the CDC says, the Center for Disease Control says that children are experiencing milder conditions. So anyways, what are those symptoms? Those symptoms happen to be fever, cough, shortness of breath, like we showed earlier, and then highlighting again. It takes quite a while for the disease to really set in people. And so that just sets up a perfect storm for the disease to be spread very, very quickly. All right, so what can we do about this? Number one thing I would say is we just need to relax, figure out what information we find good information and go from there. So just like normal, okay, any flu season, what do you want to do? You want to make sure you're keeping your immune system strong. So that means getting enough sleep. That means having a healthy diet, okay, a balanced diet. That means staying hydrated, okay, drinking enough water. That means minimizing stress, okay? I know I've talked a lot about this with my classes specifically, but making sure that we're not stressing out about things, which is difficult at a time like this, is going to help our immune system a ton. So again, sleep and minimizing stress. Also, just like any disease that spreads, you want to wash your hands. If you cough on your hands, you want to wash them. Also, if you are sick, this is not the time to try to be a hero and go to work and power through it. If you're sick and you can, stay home to make sure that you don't get others sick. And then lastly, and which I kind of alluded to right away, is we need to stay informed and we need to have quality information. So I recommend the CDC website, which I have listed below for you to access and get good information. All the information that I got for this PowerPoint is listed on the Center for Disease Control. So again, guys, just wanted to give a little update on what the disease is and how it is spreading. Stay safe and see you guys later. Peace.